Okay, this is a weekend SPY update for the week ending August 18th. First of all, on the daily chart here, you can see it was kind of a big red week with kind of 5 days that look like they're heading down. But on Friday, we did end up with a bit of a kind of a two down reversal looking bar that closes green on the day. So, we certainly took out the low of the previous day. That was expected after this bid reg bar. It was kind of on a gap down, and then we moved up for most of the session, and I'll get into that in a minute. Obviously, coming into today, or on Friday, coming into Friday, you had exhaustion risk. That's why there was no real, the trend's down. I can get into that. The weekly chart's been red for 3 weeks. The monthly chart on Thursday, we finally got our two down month, which I'll get into in a minute. But, the trend's down, and yet you're at exhaustion risk after seeing 1, 2, 3 bars, with lower lows. You just don't necessarily get that momentum every single day. So that's why there's no real actionable signal. If we just go to just the day itself, just given the fact that you had the downtrend, I shot a video where after this push up and a little failure up here, I try to buy puts thinking we can get to the low of the day and maybe get a little follow through before, meeting some exhaustion risk. But it turns out, we just came down a little bit. I scaled out just to play safe because I know I'm an exhaustion risk. And then I shot a video how I took a small gain on this trade. Once we had the big green bar, I discussed, that I thought we'd likely take out the intraday high. And then, we had these pre-market highs up here that I thought we'd reach. And that's essentially what the day was. It was just kind of, and you can see from the structure, I always talk about that first bar being kind of the reference point for everything I do in my particular trading. And in this case, it was kind of a move up. We took out that high of bar number one. We only pulled back kind of the midway point of that first bar, started up, and then that set the tone for the rest of the day. So until we were coming down to attack that low at some point, I wasn't interested in the short side. And, since we're in a big downtrend, even though I suspected we were coming up to get some buy side liquidity before maybe turning lower, I wasn't really interested in going long. But once you saw this bar, it did indicate on the day you were likely trying to reach up for some buy side, liquidity areas. In the big picture, if you think about it, if you have a downtrend coming down, if I spread out the 50-minute chart, you can see how if you just kind of create a channel, a mental, 45-degree channel, there are times you come up within that downtrend before turning lower. So there's no reason we can't continue up, all the way up here in the next day or two. You kind of expect follow through from this green bar higher. You see a fair value gap in here to fill. So you can have a day or two where we definitely head up, and that's tradable. And then if it fails to reach certain targets, you kind of suspect that this downtrend stays intact until proven otherwise. And again, I'm still looking for that weekly chart to turn green in some form or give some failure indication. Let's say we come down, take that the low of the bar and come to the midpoint. Anything to, a two up bar is obviously the next sign that you're back to the upside. So that's what I'm waiting for. But there could be some short-term, buys in here before the turn, anticipating the turn. But still the best trades in this environment are still going to be the upward moves that fail and then start lower. So we'll look for that. And then in terms of the bigger picture on the monthly chart, like I said, we do have a two down month now. So that's confirmed with about, I don't know, might be 8 or 9 trading days left in the month. The target could be this low down here. When I look at the monthly chart, I see this fair value gap between the high of this bar and the low of this bar. So that could really be where it's kind of reaching for this month. And then you see how the month ends. And, at that point, it's going to be tough to turn this monthly chart back up again now that you're going to have to wait for either a two down and a two up or an inside bar and something back up. So it could take a couple of months before this chart really starts up. But to anticipate that, you kind of go to the weekly chart, and that's why I really want to see that one turning up at some point. That makes sense. Now you have a pivot machine gun all the way, all these things. So this thing can go down, 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 and really this is kind of that fair value gap on the monthly chart. So, you just don't know at this point until things turn. But finally, in my bigger picture analysis, I've had other videos before I got into this type of, multiple time frame analysis I do. One of the things I used to always just do is, any uptrend like this, I have no problem with a one on the monthly chart. I have no problem with a 1 bar pullback, so to speak, in a month. So this is coming up. To me, this is all just pullback in here, one kind of red, 2 in a row, but kind of an inside red bar. So I'm looking for the weekly charts to turn up in this environment. That kind of anticipates the monthly chart turn up. Here's a 1 month pause. Here's a 1 month pause, similar to what we're having now. It can come down for a month. This looks pretty bad, but when that weekly chart turned up, that was the beginning of this next monthly chart turning up. So now we have the same thing. We're in an uptrend up here, and this is the 1 month pullback, and you can see the fair value gap, which makes all kinds of sense to fill in. So, at this point, it's not a devastating drop, but you never, until if it becomes more than a 1 month pullback, then like in here, then all of a sudden I need that monthly chart to turn up, and I'm going to be very patient before I look into the long side here. At the moment, until we get at least 2 months of pullback, I'm going to consider this just a pause in the uptrend and look for that weekly chart to turn up. So I just thought I'd throw that out. So anyway, that's the recap for the week. Kind of a red week. Let's go to the weekly chart. I anticipate, when you see this, look, I kind of anticipate the first move maybe being up since the daily chart's green, but we'll see if we can get above the midpoint of that bar on any kind of start to the upside. That would be about here. Let's just see, there's a fair value gap to fill in. So you're anticipating a little higher. You see how price reacts to this gap and see if we just kind of hold the midpoint and turn lower, or could this be the start of something on a daily chart that starts the weekly chart, next week turning green, and maybe is the beginning of this monthly chart turning green. So that's kind of the chain reaction to it all. So that's it for the end of the week. Good opportunities to the short side for a few of these days, and yesterday was more of just exhaustion risk and just letting it just kind of pause in the downtrend. So let's see how things open next week.